Hi, everyone. My name is Anika Verma, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer at the Steamboat. For those of you who don't know, we interview various students who have showcased an interest in STEAM and our leadership through exceptional means. And I'm pleased to announce our next student, Hailey Kim. So before we get started, I would like Hailey Kim to introduce herself.
Okay, so hi, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Hailey Kim. I'm currently a junior at Mary Surge High School, located in Maryland in the US. I'm 16. I have a strong interest in STEM, especially in like the field of medicine. It's something that has always interested me, and I'm passionate about exploring more in the field. So I'm excited to share some of my experiences like the lessons I've learned and like the challenges I've encountered and talk a little bit about what I hope to achieve in the future too.
Okay, so let's start by asking what sparked your interest in STEM and what made you want to pursue that field?
Yeah, so for me, I just kind of always knew that I was more like of a STEM person. It's something that you can sense, even when you're in like middle school. Um like when you take a moment to think about the classes that you actually feel that you're doing good in and the classes that you enjoy, for me, those were always like the STEM classes. And also, when I was younger, there was a period during elementary school where I lived in Korea and I would stay at like my grandparents' house. But one day there was this like really big fire that happened at my like grandparents at my grandpa's workplace, and I remember seeing someone that I spent time with every single day who was one of like the most healthiest and strongest people I knew go from being that to someone who just needed a bunch of machines hooked up to them in order to just be able to do the most basic bodily functions, right? And because of my grandpa, I spent a lot of time in the hospital. And like the doctors that would come and go, they would make small talk with me and they were always just so wholesome. And I remember being so grateful for them. And they were always so nice and understanding. And, slowly my grandpa recovered. And in the beginning, they said that it was like they weren't even sure that he was going to survive in the first place. And the doctor said that it was like a miracle. But to me, it made me respect them so much. And I feel like I've always had this respect for doctors and it never left me. So I hope to be someone one day who can just like pay it forward. And that's why I think I'm interested, especially in medicine.
All right. So I know you mentioned that you're interested in medicine, and that's a really inspiring story you told us. So what major are you specifically interested in college and career? What career path are you thinking, and what college do you want to go to?
Yeah, so as I've talked about here, I've I said that I'm interested in medicine, and for Korean medicine, most colleges just lay out like a pre-med track, which is less of a major and more of like a structured plan, I guess. And it just makes sure that you're enrolled in important classes and labs, everything from like chemistry and bio to like physics and math, like these classes that you need under your belt for medical school. And also a lot of medical school is about like just studying on your own for the MCAT, so that you're ready to go into medical school. So at this stage, I'm not like zeroing in on like a specific major as much as I'm just focused on like a career path in medicine. I know that it's really common for pre-med students to gravitate towards like a biology major or something because it just aligns so closely with the fundamentals of medicine. And I guess bio, you can like understand cells, genetics, and like human body systems and stuff like that. And a lot of people also go with public health. So I don't know. I'm still deciding in terms of the major. But honestly, more than picking a major, I think what I want to do is just have like a well-rounded foundation in the sciences in my college career. And I think in terms of college, wherever they'll have me, I guess. I've always loved like I think Brown is so pretty, just like the campus. And yeah.
So, and being in Maryland, John Hopkins, what is your opinion on that college? Would you want to go there?
Yeah, Johns Hopkins, of course. If they want to have me, then I would be honored. Johns Hopkins.
All right, so now let's move into like what extracurriculars you are part of. So can you tell us a little bit about what extracurricular activities you're involved in?
Yeah, sure. So currently I'm the STEM chair of HCASC, which stands for Howard County Association of Student Councils. And of course, because you're the chair as well. And as STEM chair, my role is to promote like STEM related activities and opportunities by communicating with like school groups, especially to those who might not otherwise get notified of these activities. And I'm also one of the three executives for Science and Society, the planning committee. So basically, Science and Society is a student-led STEM conference based here in Maryland that attracts around like 300 students every year. And it's where like professionals from a really wide array of STEM fields all the way from engineering to neuroscience come to talk about opportunities and give advice for students who'd like to pursue their field. And as an executive of this conference, I help lead a committee of like 20 or so people. And I also help to make partnerships with institutions like APL and the University of Maryland College of Engineering in order to, add to the conference content.
Hmm.
Also at school, I do HOSA, and I'm actually part of the executive board for that. And I participate in science Olympiad tournaments. And yeah.
All right, so can you tell us, like I already know about STEM committee, but can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you do in STEM committee so that our listeners can also get to know that?
Yeah, so I love our little HCASC STEM committee. So the whole goal behind just HCASC in general is to just amplify certain opportunities within Howard County that not a lot of people might be able to have access to if it weren't for us. So in terms of the STEM committee, our work is to amplify the STEM activities within Howard County. So for us, what we're working on right now, it includes organizing a panel. So right now we're working with the environmental uh, committee within HCASC in order to make a panel where we invite like a fusion of like environmentalists and like people in the STEM field to talk about where their careers intersect. And we just host and make activities like this that all Howard County students can come to and hopefully learn more about and become more interested in STEM.
Yeah, I definitely love being part of STEM committee and co-chairing with you, and
Yeah.
it's really exciting. So you also mentioned being part of HOSA. So for those of you who don't know HOSA, can you explain how HOSA works, what HOSA is, and what your position is?
Yeah, so HOSA stands for, I think, Health Occupational Sciences of America, and it's a club that's a really common, just like a medical club. And if you know what FBLA is, it's similar to that, where we have like competitions at the school, and these competitions are all like based in medicine. Like for example, if you want to go into um like medical assisting, there's a specific competition that you can sign up within HOSA for that specific event. So then you sign yourself up for that event and then you study for it on your own time and you take the test and then you can qualify for states. And then after that, you can also qualify for nationals too. So it's a really competition based club, but also in my school we have opportunities where we get to get CPR training and we just learn about like different medical practices, and we also had like a guest panel of doctors and college students who are currently pursuing med school as well. So it just is a club for people interested in medicine.
All right. So can you tell us about any achievements that you've made in your life? They don't have to be STEM specific, but that works too.
Mm-hmm. As I kind of talked about before, I obviously am in HOSA and I'm really happy that I was able to qualify to HOSA Nationals last year after qualifying like third in the state for my event. And also, speech and debate is something that I haven't done for the longest time. Like I started it last year, which is my sophomore year, and I remember just coming into speech and debate, I was really overwhelmed by how good people were and by all just like the jargon too. It was just very overwhelming. And I didn't know that it would be something that I would become so passionate in. And now you know, currently do OO, and I am the speech and debate team manager for my team. And last year I qualified to two national competitions, which was I qualified for NSDA and NCFL. And even though speech and debate was something in the beginning that I was not good at all in the first few competitions, it really humbled me. Like I was like, wow. And it was really scary for me, and just being able to get better at it and seeing the results of the judges just get constantly better and better, like it just was a testament that my hard work was paying off. So I was really proud of that. Um, and also, I'm in the Youth Climate Institute, and we work on capstone projects within the YCI organization. And my partner and I have been working on a project called Climates Across the Globe, where I teach climate education to kids all over the world from places like India, Mexico, Brazil, Kyrgyzstan, and we do this through what the webinars that we host. And when comparing the polls of the students before listening to our webinars, but versus after, the impact we've been able to have on their climate knowledge is really clear. And this means a lot to me. And this was personally something that I was proud of.
These are very exciting, and I really like the story about like the webinars and being able to like make an impact around the larger community. So how do you
Mhm.
balance these classes and extracurriculars that you're a part of?
I think in high school, like the most important thing ever is time management. Like no matter how smart or capable you are, you really can't outform someone who has their just life organized and operates with a plan. And I can admit that I am a bit of a procrastinator myself, but something that I found to be incredibly helpful is to plan out my day, like not in the morning, not at school, but the night before. And this way, in the morning, like no matter how tired I feel or how much I want to scroll through Instagram Reels, like I already have a framework for the day waiting for me. So then I feel more guilty if I just choose to ignore it. And I'm sort of bound by it, if that makes sense. And throughout the day, I can tick off the goals that past me set like the night before. And just being able to do that makes me feel accomplished and happy. And, life is good. Life feels a lot better when you sense that you're doing something productive. And when it comes to like, sorry, were you saying something?
No, no, I was just
Okay, yeah. And when it comes to like my schoolwork, I like doing this thing where I start off with the tasks that are more definite, which means that like the tasks that aren't creative at all and tasks that I know I can get done in like a certain period of time, like for example, math homework. And after getting those out of the way, I do like the more indefinite assignments, where like the duration that I spend on them depends only on me, and this could be like an English essay or researching or studying, and I have a really bad habit of dwelling on these things for ages once I start. So if I leave it for last, knowing that I have limited time left, it forces me to just get it done and submit it.
yeah, I do that all the time. I will do my like stuff that I know I can do, but then when there's
Yeah,
a short narrative I have to write in English, then I will leave it till the last so I know
I
that.
know, sometimes you just need that like clock to put the pressure on you.
All right, so we were just talking about classes. So can you tell us about a few classes that you're taking that align with your STEM interests or
Mhm.
STEM classes that you've taken?
Yeah, so this year, in terms of like STEM, I am taking like AP Calc, AP Physics, GT Research, and GT Research isn't really like STEM, but for me, it kind of is because GT Research is a class that gives you the opportunity to research something on your own that you're actually interested in. And I'm currently studying antibiotic alternatives for treating poultry diseases through my research under my advisor. And I think this is a really enjoyable class and I'd recommend it. And with all the talk about, like antibiotic resistance these days, it feels like I'm working on something that could actually make a difference, which is fun. And coming into this year, I didn't know that I would enjoy AP Calc as much as I do. I feel like it's a math class that's actually interesting, which I can't say that about every single math class I've taken. But calc is actually one of my favorite classes this year. Like, it's so chill. And I'm happy with my schedule. I feel like it covers the STEM I want to study without drowning me in work. In terms of last year, I took AP Bio and AP Chem, so I doubled up, which was kind of honestly difficult. So I'm not sure if I would recommend it. But it does feel good to have gotten like the big STEM classes or two of them out of the way so I don't have to go crazy my junior year. Like I loved AP Bio. And since I'm more of like an AP, like I'm more of a bio girly, so AP Chem was a little harder at first, but I do think I got the hang of it as the year went on. And I think these classes were important for me in terms of just building my basic science knowledge. And I think whether it's AP Chem, AP Bio, or AP Physics, if you're like eyeing a field in STEM, you should take at least one of these like higher rigor like STEM classes in high school to not only like expose yourself to more science, but to kind of show to admissions officers that you are taking some of the harder courses out there.
All right. Yeah, I think that's very important too. Can you tell us a little bit about like this independent research project that you're doing? Like it seems very interesting and we'd love to know more.
Yeah, so my research is about treating poultry diseases. And if you didn't know, like a large chunk, obviously antibiotic resistance is a really big issue right now, right? Like we are becoming immune to antibiotics. Antibiotics are supposed to be what's treating us for like diseases that might possibly be fatal, but now they're not working anymore because we're just using them for everything. So they're losing their impact, right? But what a lot of people don't know is that our like resistance, a lot of it comes from poultry animals because within the animals that we eat, the animals they also consume antibiotics, and a lot of the time, it's not only used to make them like heal from their diseases faster. It's also used to promote growth. So these farms in America, they'll just use these antibiotics on them without really like the need to. And when we consume these animals, um, it also makes like diseases like E. coli and salmonella harder to treat, and it impacts like the entire human gut microbiome. So that's something that I've been researching with my advisor, who is a super grade like immunologist, and it's really cool. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And
Yeah.
so who inspired you? Like who are your inspirations in STEM and outside of STEM and that you look forward to?
So my inspirations, hmm, uh, I'd say Rosalind Franklin, if you know who she is, she's definitely up there. She's like the person who helped discover the DNA like double helix, and she also basically her work with what's it called, like X-ray crystallography or something, is what served as like the critical evidence for the structure of DNA. And I remember learning about Watson and Crick, who we all know in middle school. But then my science teacher, she mentioned Rosalind Franklin. And Rosalind Franklin is a woman who contributed to the invention of the double helix just as much as Watson and Crick, but didn't get the same amount of recognition. And I remember thinking like what? And then I went home and researched her for a project, and I turned into a fan. And I think her like dedication to science in a male-dominated field, especially in her time, really shows what it means to actually be in it for the science. And also, this might be kind of cliche, but my mom is also one of my biggest inspirations because she is just like so organized and she's such a go-getter person who has her life together. And she is incredible at managing her time. I don't know where those genes went, but I wish I could be more like her sometimes.
I think we can all like we all looked up to our parents, and I think it's
Yeah.
amazing how, and I think that is, how you talked about the male dominant field. So
Mhm.
moving from that kind of, what issues like in STEM matter to you, like STEM disparities, and if so, and why?
Mm. STEM issues. Obviously, I think representation, as I've kind of touched on, is important, especially since we're like the minority. Women have always been historically underrepresented in STEM, and I'm so glad that the like playing field is being more leveled. And I think like interviews like these, like they just help shine the light on that. So I feel like the steamboat, I love what you all are doing. And yeah, I do think that representation is a big issue, but another issue that's so important is climate change. And I think that we're the generation that it kind of all depends upon. And climate change, it stands as one of the most pressing issues facing our generation. And this issue also touches like a lot of different aspects from health and agriculture to infrastructure and just global economies, right? And the reason it's so important, especially for students pursuing STEM, is that climate change requires a lot of scientific innovation, in my opinion, to finally be able to address its impact. And as students, because we're so young at this point, especially as high schoolers, sometimes it feels like there's only so much you can do in the field of STEM that's actually meaningful. Like as a middle schooler or high schooler, it's not like you're going to develop of rocket ship that goes to Mars. But one of the things that is most accessible to teenagers is advocacy and especially environmental advocacy because the people higher up like want to hear what we have to say. And I think, I think it really depends on our generation to finally be able to tackle climate change.
I think you almost basically answered my next question, which was going to be like, how can we address these issues? And you mentioned
Hmm.
advocacy. Are there any ways else that you want to talk about, like that students can take part and, advocate for like women in STEM and climate change?
Yeah, as I said before, I think advocacy is like a big thing and just spreading awareness. And I think a lot of people, especially in like middle school, they think being super passionate about something is a little embarrassing, but I think middle school and high school is like the perfect time in order to really explore what you're interested in. And if you have an issue like climate change that you're actually passionate in, I feel like an important piece of advice is to just like find like search up what organizations you can join that are near you that, you know, work with climate change. And even just by like a quick search, you'll be able to find groups within HCASC that even like deal with these things, right? And once you kind of immerse yourself in these opportunities, then they'll just like keep flowing in. So I think that's, where I lie on that.
All right, so kind of from the floating into opportunities and things like that, for incoming like high school students or middle school students, how can they find like different opportunities, like being part of HCAS? That's something like you can do through school, but if they
Mhm.
want to like connect with other youth organizations,
Yeah.
things like that.
Um, I think one of the biggest uh lessons I've learned is the power of just reaching out. Like cold emailing for opportunities is obviously intimidating. It's intimidating for everyone, but just taking that step, putting yourself out there, can open doors that you would never expect. And it's just not about like getting the opportunities too. It's about building a network of like people who can guide you and give you advice and share their own experiences. So I think the important thing is to like not be shy to ask questions or seek guidance. And more often than not, people are actually like super willing to help and they're really eager. Like I've been amazed by the generosity of like experts in like my field who, despite being super duper busy, they always took time out of their day to answer my questions. Um, and as I kind of touched on before, don't underestimate the just value in participating in things like participating in clubs, competitions, projects, especially if you're on the younger side, like you are in eighth grade or a freshman. I know that the mentality is to just be kind of like, oh, like I have plenty of
Yeah.
time. Yeah, I know that when I was in ninth grade and I would see the juniors and seniors stressing about college apps and stuff, it just felt so far away. But I'm so serious when it tells you it goes by so quickly. Like if I could do it again, I would definitely put myself out there more in terms of just joining clubs that sound interesting and getting started early is so important. So the short of it is just like don't hold back, cold email, ask questions, join clubs, and take every opportunity to learn, I guess.
What latest innovation or achievement in STEM has caught your interest and attention, and why?
Yeah, so I think there's like so many interesting innovations lately, and the hot topic these days is like machine learning and AI. And I know that everyone always, focuses on how AI is going to take over humanity and how it's like really terrifying and bad. But I am interested in like the positive aspects of AI too.
Mhm.
And specifically in the field of medicine, people are working on machine learning that helps to predict like tissue necrosis during surgeries, and I think that's like so cool. Um, so basically, what I mean by that is usually you would need multiple ultrasonogram appointments to check that the tissue after surgery is still viable, meaning that the blood underneath your tissue is still flowing well and stuff like that. But now, with the use of AI, machine learning models are being developed that can predict the viability of tissue during surgery in real time because AI is really good at taking like a big database of information and just applying it.
Mhm.
And this is like projected to eliminate the need for all these unnecessary appointments and it can make overall like surgeries just safer. And I think that's like so promising and interesting.
All right. Then thank you so much for coming here today. And if do you have any last questions or comments that you want to say?
No, it's just thank you so much for having me.
All right, then I would like to thank Hailey Kim for joining us this week on our student series interview project. And if you're interested in getting interviewed by our team, then be sure to check out the form in the description. And we're always looking and interested in interviewing students. So we interview anyone between the ages of 14 and 22, but we'll always make exceptions for grad students who are doing amazing work. And we hope to see you back here on Monday for our next installment.